The story begins with a young woman named Sophia. She was so beautiful that anyone who saw her would be instantly captivated. Sophia was walking on foot, searching for something. She was soon to be married, so she was looking for a nice house where she could live comfortably with her husband after the wedding. But today, she set out again to look for a house. On the way, she saw a middle-aged man shouting loudly. His name was George, and he was headed in the same direction as Sophia. Shortly afterward, Sophia arrived at a building to view a house. She unlocked the door and checked her watch. It was already late. She walked straight to the bathroom, where a woman was seen brushing her teeth. Sophia didn't pay her any attention. She then called her mother to come see the house with her. Just then, she ran into the same man she saw earlier, George. The building's landlady handed her the key, and Sophia took the elevator, since the house was on an upper floor. Soon she reached the apartment. It was quite dark inside, so Sophia went to open the window. As she did, she saw George already there. Surprised, she asked him who he was and what he was doing there. George explained that the house belonged to him, but he had moved elsewhere and told the landlady to sell it. Hearing this, Sophia continued to explore the house, as she liked it. Suddenly, the phone rang. There were 2 phones in the house, still connected. The call was for George. His family knew he often visited this place. On the call, Sophia heard the conversation too, and George noticed her listening. He put the phone down and walked over to her. Sophia still had the receiver near her ear and got startled when she saw George approaching. She quickly hung up and apologized. George got very angry at her behavior. He scolded her and walked away, but then, thinking something, he came back and suddenly picked Sophia up in his arms. Sophia, scared, didn't resist, and the two ended up losing control and making love. Afterward, both of them stepped out of the building to get some air. Sophia saw a chance and quickly ran away. She rushed to the train station to welcome her husband, who was returning after several days away in another city. Soon, she found him, but he wasn't alone. He had brought his team with him. Her husband, Ron, was passionate about making documentary films, and currently, he was working on a film about Sophia's father, who was a heroic soldier and had died in war. But Sophia didn't like this at all. She wanted to talk to him about the house and express her love, but Ron was too focused on his film project. On the other side, when George returned home, George loved his wife deeply, but she had been in love with someone else. After a fight with her lover, a little while later, George informed his mother about his wife's death. Hearing this, his mother was heartbroken and began praying for her soul's peace. This angered George. He said her soul would never be at peace because taking was a grave sin. The next day, Sophia returned to the same house she had visited before. While she was looking at some of the furniture, a few people came in carrying new items. When she asked them about it, they said nothing and left a bed and a mattress in the house. These had been sent by George. When she asked him about it, George said, "I really enjoyed being with you yesterday, and I know you feel the same way. That's why I want us to keep meeting here, to love each other." At first, Sophia refused. But when George laid out some rules for the relationship, she eventually agreed, because Ron wasn't giving her the love she needed, so she gave in to being with George instead. George's rules were, we won't know each other's names, and we won't ask questions. We will forget the world and just love each other in this house. Outside this house, we are strangers. After talking, they organized the furniture and then made love on the new bed before going their separate ways. From there, Sophia went to meet Ron, who was waiting for her in an old house with his entire team. This house had once belonged to Sophia's grandparents, and she had lived there for years with her father. She told Ron about the kind of man her father was and how he became a great soldier. She even showed Ron her father's grave. After sharing everything, Sophia wanted to be close and affectionate with Ron, but he again acted cold and distant. When she tried to leave, Ron stopped her. But Sophia was in need of love, so she went back to the new house to spend time with George. George was already there, waiting for her. As soon as he saw Sophia, he asked, "Why did you come so early?" Sophia replied, "My husband doesn't love me. He's always busy with his work. I need someone who can love me, and that's you." After that, they made love once again. Over time, their meetings became more frequent. Sophia started falling in love with George because he gave her everything she had hoped for from Ron. He made her laugh, played different kinds of music for her, and did everything the way she liked. This helped lift Sophia's spirits and also cured George's loneliness. One day, while they were talking, Sophia began to tell George about her first romantic experience with her cousin. She described everything in detail, hoping it would excite George and make him want to be intimate with her again. But George wasn't in the mood that day, and he pulled away from her. Sophia was left to take care of herself. Seeing George's condition, his mother grew increasingly worried. She tried to explain to him that he should stay away from Sophia, that she wasn't a good girl. But George got angry at his mother instead. As the days passed, George's love for Sophia kept growing. Sophia, too, began to feel more for George. She now wanted to know his real name and tell him more about herself, but George refused and walked away. Meanwhile, Sophia's husband, Ron, was waiting for her at the station. A few moments later, she arrived. She asked him to take her to her mother's place, but Ron was lost in his own world of cinema. Just then, a train approached, and Sophia noticed Ron had suddenly disappeared, but in the very next moment, he reappeared, and the two got into an argument. After the fight, Sophia angrily stormed off to her new house, where George was already waiting for her. George tried to get close to Sophia, but she was still upset. Despite her telling him no repeatedly, George didn't stop, and once again, the two ended up making love. A few days later, Sophia's mother asked her to try on her wedding dress to check the fitting. Sophia looked completely different in the dress. Suddenly, she remembered that she needed to apologize to Ron. Without wasting time, she left the house. She arrived where Ron was. She asked him how she looked in the dress, but Ron was still only focused on his film work. This upset Sophia. At the same time, it started raining, and Ron rushed to gather his film equipment with his team. Frustrated, Sophia went back to George. She told him, "I've started to fall in love with you." But George tried to explain to her that there's no meaning in this kind of love. "Ron isn't giving you time, that's why you think you love me," he said. Because of the rain, Sophia was drenched, so George started forcing her to take a shower. Sophia loved everything about George, even the way he took care of her while bathing. She was being playful with him during the shower. Afterward, George gave her some tips about life. But deep down, George was starting to realize that what he was doing was wrong. He told Sophia to stay away from him. Sophia didn't want to leave George, but after he insisted again and again, she finally left to meet Ron. That night, George had a dream where he went back to his old house and confessed to his deceased wife that her death had been his fault. He was broken, he realized that his actions had led to her death. He begged her to forgive him and asked her to take him away from everything. He then began crying in her arms, only to wake up suddenly, alone in his bed. On the other side, Sophia had started following George's advice, and it was actually working. She was feeling genuinely happy, wanting to share this joy with George. She rushed to see him. But when she opened the door to their usual house, she was shocked. Everything was gone. The entire room was empty. George wasn't there. None of the furniture was there. Seeing it all, Sophia realized that George had left. She tried asking around about him, but it was no use. She didn't even know his real name. Exhausted and heartbroken, she called Ron and asked him to come see the house. She told him that after their wedding, they would live there together. At first, Ron was pleased with the house, but as soon as he stepped inside, he noticed a strange smell. He immediately realized that Sophia had already played house here with someone else. He wanted to know the truth, but Sophia refused to tell him anything. Angrily, Ron walked out and left her standing alone. A little later, a sad and heartbroken Sophia was walking back home. It was the same path where she had first met George. Nothing felt right anymore. And suddenly, George showed up. He had realized, after being apart from her, that he had truly fallen in love with her. He tried to win her back, but Sophia didn't give in. George asked for her name, but she didn't respond. So, George took her to a hotel and opened up about his past. He told her, "I own this hotel." Even after George shared everything, Sophia still didn't reveal anything about herself. The two danced together one last time, both smiling as if everything was perfect. That's when Sophia was hit by guilt. She began thinking about Ron. George wanted to make love to her one last time, but Sophia didn't feel right about it anymore. She tried to run away. George followed her all the way to her house. Now Sophia was scared. She pulled out the gun she always carried in her purse. George came close and asked her name once again, and in a panic, Sophia pulled the trigger. And with that, the story comes to an end. So friends, what do you think? Did Sophia do the right thing or the wrong thing? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for more stories like this. Thank you for watching.